Don, I wonder, here where they had that oxen incident, they used those ox for the heavy mining equipment, and those must have been huge animals. I don't know what an ox looked like back in the day.
Well, you let a steer of the, especially those milking breeds, let them grow a few years, 5 or 6 years. They get to be a pretty big animal, pretty strong. Thing about an ox is that they're not that fast, and they're a ruminant, which means that they have to take in grass and then they have to chew their cud. So that in order for them to properly metabolize, they have to spend part of their day chewing their cud. So even though they could probably haul more equipment with an ox-drawn wagon, it was a lot considerably slower because these animals required rest. Otherwise you'd wear them out. It wouldn't happen.
I know some of the wagons had mules,
Yeah.
and there was always an issue of keeping those wagons drawn by horses and mules. The tendency was to go faster. I'm sure they had the lighter
Yes,
wagons too.
right. Mm-hmm.
So that was always a challenge within these wagon trains, is
Yeah.
keeping those wagon trains together, keeping the horses and mules slowed down enough. One story is kind of interesting. A chap named Thomas had lost his family in the plague. You know this story probably. And he lost his wife and 2 daughters. His son survived, he survived. He sold a farm in Illinois or someplace in the Midwest, bought a wagon, and decided to go to the whole gold fields. And they came through up to Fort Smith and passed through Fort Smith, and they thought, well, now we're in Crow country, it's safe. And so they went on by themselves because the wagons drawn by the oxen were mining equipment going very slow. So he had no firearms, and he launches out across this wild country by himself, and his son is. They came down to the Yellowstone River and they got caught there. Probably Blackfeet Indians, I suppose.
Yeah, the Crow were friendly, but not the Blackfeet.
Not the Blackfeet. And they were killed. Their graves are sitting along the Bozeman Trail right now down by Big Timber.
Right. You can go there today and visit the site where they found that they were buried at one time. It's near a place called Great Cliff. It's beyond it's this side of Big Timber. And it was real interesting to learn about the Thomas train because they burned the wagon and they took a lot of the stuff, the people that killed him, but they left the diary laying there. And when the wagon train came across their bodies and the burnt wagon, they found the diary. And the diary tells a lot about what they did those few days while they were by themselves. They were really enjoying themselves. It was a great weather, and they had no real fear of being ambushed that way. And a real fun thing to do is it's not impossible to see that diary right now because it's part of our heritage. It's in the museum at Helena and you have to be real careful. It's all bound, but you can actually read what they said.
You can see it there. Huh?
Yeah, it's fun. It was a tragedy for them. It really was. And it's too bad that they lost their life, but it's some of the things that happened along that way.
Kind of illustrates the difference between oxen and mules and the disparity in animals that you had to use. You know, they one of the things that they say in the diary is kind of interesting. They stopped up there in a place called Whitebird Creek. I didn't know what the name of it was then, but we knew where the trail goes there, and we kind of had a good idea where. And they found a spring. They said the spring was this beautiful, crystal clear water, and they stopped and they spent a half a day there, out there in the wilderness area by themselves, rocking up this spring so there'd be nice spring water for those people who followed afterwards. And so the question, where is this spring? And my Indian friend and I went there one time looking for it with one of the relatives of the Thomases. The shirt-tailed relatives came out, and we think we found that spring. It's over there. You could kind of feel down where somebody years ago had rocked it up.
Wow.
So that was kind of neat.
And they described that in the document. That's how we knew.
Exactly.
It's really quite a deal.
I don't know where now.